Hey Oasis, welcome to another online worship experience here with Oasis Online. If you're visiting with us for the first time, welcome. My name is Nate and I'm part of the team here at Oasis. We are so thrilled that you chose to join us this week. We have an exciting week. This is week 3 of our The Big Letdown series, and so far these first 2 weeks have been so good. So we're excited that you're with us and that you chose to join us, and we just pray that God would meet you wherever you are and whatever time of day you're watching this or experiencing this, that he would speak to you and there would be a special message just for you this week. So let's get caught up on a couple of things that are going on tonight. If you're watching this on Sunday, tonight Oasis Youth are going to have a chat at 6 p.m. Mike emailed a link. If you did not get that link for that chat, I would encourage you to email him, and I'll put the email down below so that you can go check that out and be a part of that time. We do have a marriage retreat coming up February 12 and 13. We'll have some details that we'll send out about that this week, so stay tuned, get ready, save the date, the 12th and 13th of February. Going to be a great weekend. Also, there are three ways right now to participate in this worship experience. Some of you are watching at home, and that's where you feel safe right now, and we encourage you to keep doing that. Some of you have branched out, and you're comfortable in an environment or a setting where there's a few more people, a couple other families. So we have Oasis house churches that meet around our community, and would love to get you connected with one of those if you're interested. And also on Sunday morning, there's a handful of us that gather here at Oasis, and we watch the worship experience up on the big screen. So maybe you're asking yourself the question, when are we going to get together in real life, in person, and do worship live and teaching live? That day is coming. But I ask you to just be patient. I know it seems like it's been a long haul here and you're ready, but just be patient with us for a little bit longer. We have the stage ripped up right now, and we want to get some carpeting in and some other details done, and things are taking a little bit longer than usual. I don't know if you're in marketing or shipping things or receiving things right now, but things are traveling kind of slow and it's hard to get some stuff. So that is coming. We have some sound equipment, we have some trusses, we have some carpeting that's going to be going down, like I said. So just be patient with us, and hopefully in a month we're going to schedule a prayer and worship night where we gather in the space that God has provided for us, and we're going to worship and we're going to pray, and we're just going to pray that God would bless and anoint this space for his purposes, and that he would come and fill that space. So we'll schedule that, and then we'll have like a grand reopening, and it's going to be awesome. So we just look forward to getting that on the schedule. Also, want to make you aware that Oasis, we've changed some financial structures, and we've moved our finances into a different bank, and we've separated things out from SLW Church, which was our mother church and our sending church. And so that means things are going to shift. We've been using Simple Give, which is an awesome way for us to give online, either through our website or through texting, and we're going to continue to use them, but we're going to set up a brand new account. We've been using an account under the umbrella of SLW Church, and now we're going to set up an account that's just specific to Oasis. So here, hopefully in the next week, we'll get that set up, and we'll send out a new phone number, a new way to text to give, but you'll have to go either in your text or online to set up your automatic giving if you've been doing that, or to set up and link your giving to your account, to our account, so that we can continue that process of giving online. It's super convenient. It's super easy to set that card up, and we encourage you, if you haven't taken advantage of this service, that you maybe get plugged into that, because it's an easy way to pay for registrations for the marriage retreat, or give your tithe, or give your offering, or your legacy giving. It's easy, it's convenient, and especially when we're not meeting in person, you can be consistent in that giving. So we'll send you out more information so that we can continue to worship God together in this way, through the giving of our tithes and offerings and legacy giving and whatever else God puts on our heart. So I'm excited about today. As you can tell, things are I love the story that we're going to tell. And hopefully it's going to give us a different perspective and challenge us this week. But first, let's engage in some time of worship where we praise the God who deserves it, the only one that deserves it. Let's engage, let's worship him, let's lift his name high today in song and worship together.
Hungry, I come to you, for I know you satisfy. I am empty, but I know your love does not run dry. So I'll wait for you. So I'll wait for you. I'm falling on my knees, offering all of me. Jesus, you're all this heart is living for. Broken, I run to you, for your arms are open wide. I am weary, but I know your touch restores my life. So I'll wait for you. So I'll wait for you. I'm falling on my knees, offering all of me. Jesus, you're all this
surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemy, till all my fears are gone, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me, and love has called my name. I've been born again into a family. Your blood flows through my veins, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. Oh, I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me and I will stand and sing. I am the child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. You drowned my fears in perfect love. You rescued me and I will stand and sing. I am the child of God. Yes, I am the child of God. Yes, I am a child of God.
Hey guys, glad you could be a part of Oasis Online today. My name is Joel and I'm part of the team here at Oasis. And we're going to take the next few minutes to pray together because if we want to see God move in our lives, if we want to see Him work in our lives, we need to be people committed to prayer. We want this to be a habit for you in your individual lives as you are at home, at work, at other places. But we also want this to be a habit for us to be taking part in as a church together. So we take time set aside during our services to pray. And as I was asking God, you know, what is on your heart for us to pray? I just really felt led in light of just kind of what's going on in our society right now. A lot of the just worldwide political stuff, all of that, to pray for unity, to pray against the division that just constantly seems to be creeping in. And I was led to a passage in Ephesians chapter 3, which this passage is not specifically about unity, but it's in the context of unity. Earlier in the chapter in Ephesians 3, and even the next chapter in Ephesians 4, it's all about unity, the unity that the gospel brings. And so, as we think about this problem of division in our society, it can become easy to be pessimistic. It seems like an impossible task. But we believe in a God who does the impossible. And as cliche or cheesy as it sounds, I believe that the way we're going to see unity is through the church stepping up and showing the love of God to a world that needs to know Him. So that's what brought me to Ephesians 3. I'm just going to read this and then we'll pray. So Ephesians 3:14 through 21. For this reason I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth is named, that according to the riches of His glory He may grant you to be strengthened with power through His Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Now to Him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us, to Him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and pray for a couple minutes. And then I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to pray. And then Nate's going to close us in prayer. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much for sending us your Son, Jesus. And thank you that the love that He has for us is one that surpasses knowledge, that it's greater than we can even know or understand, God. But help us to begin to understand in a deeper way how much you love us. And help us to understand that with all the saints, with all the people who are called by your name, God, help us to know your love and to be committed to sharing your love to this world, God. And I pray that the love of Christ would break through all the divisions in this world, all the craziness going on in this world, but that your love would shine brighter and shine more powerfully than anything else. And people would be drawn to you by the way we show your love, by the way those of us who call you our God, by the way we show your love to the world and we show the way we love one another. I just pray that people would be drawn to you and that they would know you, they would commit their lives to you, and that you would continue to bring yourself glory through bringing more and more people to know you. We love you again so much, Jesus, and it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Almighty God, we thank you for a time to pray. Thank you for hearing. Thank you for answering. Thank you for this gift of prayer. There is power in prayer. So God, I pray that we would continue to be molded and shaped into a people of prayer. Thank you for worship. Thank you for prayer. And now we thank you for this opportunity to dig into your word. And God, I pray that everything that we talk about would be from you, not anything from me, but God, as people experience this worship time, I pray that they would experience you. In your name we pray. Amen. Oh, it's so good to worship. It's so good to pray together, and it's so good to dig into God's word together. And I am so looking forward to be able to see you face to face, or see you connect in house churches, or launch you out in a micro church, or whatever God has planned down the road here for Oasis. I'm excited that you're a part of it and that we get to grow and challenge each other together. Well, this is week 3, and last week it was week 2, and Joel kind of led us through this journey of looking at the life of Jacob. Jacob, this trickster, this guy who was a troublemaker, a fighter, made some mistakes, but God used him in spite of all of those things. And have you ever wondered, God, why do you choose and why do you continue to do this all through Scripture? You did it with Jacob. You did it with Peter. You did it with Paul. You did it with Moses. You did it with David. You did it here with Jacob, and we're going to learn of some others this week. Well, God, why do you do this? Use these people who are messed up, troublemakers. And God sees this fire inside of these individuals. When I look at Jacob wrestling with God and think about what that experience must have been like to wrestle all night long, Jacob had something inside, a fire inside that the Hebrews, they use this term called chutzpah. Chutzpah. Don't go look at my Hebrew pronunciation of this because it's probably all messed up. But chutzpah is like this passion, this fire for God. And Jacob had it. Peter had it. Paul had it. Moses had it. They had this fire inside. And God says, I can use that. Yeah, they're making mistakes. Yeah, they're going about their own business. Yeah, they're self-saturated and self-centered. And yeah, they're fighters. But man, I can use that fire for my good and for my kingdom. And he did it over and over and over and over. Even though these people had these huge issues and made these huge mistakes, they had chutzpah. And God used that in mighty and powerful ways. So Joel, I love how he focused on that fighting the good fight in the power of Christ, to go out in battle, not on our own strength, but in the strength of Christ, to face those things ahead of us, to go out to struggle on behalf of others, presenting the gospel. So good. Struggling in prayer, not letting go of the promises of God. And it all came back to that making space for God. Are you making space for him? Like, fight for it, struggle for it, lean into it. Yesterday, if you're watching this on Sunday, yesterday I actually got the opportunity to go out and spend my 8 hours with God in silence and solitude. And it was so good. It was so life-giving. It was an opportunity for my head and my heart to kind of experience this cleansing and ability to be kind of recenter and refocus and reprioritize. So I went to a cabin. My sister, brother-in-law, they have a cabin out in the woods down in this valley, and it's just beautiful. And there was this fresh snow that had fallen and was just hanging all over the trees and bushes. And I got to hang out there, and I made a fire. They got a little stove in there, and I made a fire to keep warm. And then I wrote down all of the things that might be distracting me right now. Things that were distracting and stealing my attention from focusing on Scripture and prayer in that moment. So I wrote all of those things down. It was a pretty extensive list of things that were distracting me right then. And I just wrote them all down, and then I just prayed for them. Say, God, here's this thing, and with open hands, I give it to you. I don't want to focus on that right now. I want to focus on you, and I want to hear from you. So I just cleared it all out. And then I just started spending time in God's word. I went to different places in scripture, and I would read for a little bit, and then I would journal for a little bit, and then I would pray for a little bit. And I just kind of went through that cycle over and over. And I read from Genesis, I went to Psalms, I went to Proverbs, I went to Ecclesiastes. Even as I was eating my lunch, I read some of Song of Songs, and even weird places like Habakkuk. I went and read in Habakkuk. But as I was reading and as I was experiencing God and just focusing it was good. And I just kept having this sense that God was calling me to rest, that he was saying, you need to rest. And in this little cabin, wouldn't you know it, there was a little bunk bed next to where I was sitting, and there was an air mattress, and there was a couple of pillows, and I rested. And it was a deep, healing sleep, not just for my physical body, but I feel for my spiritual and my emotional and my intellectual body. It was so good, that deep sleep that was refreshing and nourishing to my heart. It was good. But we got to fight for that time. I want to encourage you to be determined to find that time, not just those 8 hours, but time in your everyday where you give 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, 5 minutes, whatever, to go do that. And if God says rest, then rest. Like, take that time and rest. The time was good. I'm looking forward to making that a regular rhythm in my year and my spiritual health. So I would encourage you to do the same. So today we're going to talk about another guy who had this chutzpah, had this fire, who had this passion for God. And it's actually one of Jacob's sons. It's Jacob, one of Jacob's sons. His name is Joseph. He was handed down this chutzpah, but he was also handed down kind of this trickster, kind of this egocentric attitude. He was focused on himself. And I would encourage you to go back and read the story. And I'll give you the reference here in a little bit. But read it from that perspective of Jacob. See how his father shows up in Joseph. It's good, and it will give you a whole different perspective to the story of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, all right? So he was a younger son, and he was the oldest from Jacob's favorite wife. So he had older brothers, but they were from other wives of Jacob. And so Jacob, this favoritism thing didn't work out so well, and Joseph kind of took advantage of that and kind of rubbed it in his brothers' faces. And Joseph wasn't super wise. He was 17 years old, kind of when we pick up the story and start hearing about him. And he was just kind of young and immature. But as in this time, he should have known better. But he didn't. And he did things that were just kind of pushing his brother's buttons. He lacked wisdom when he interacted with his brothers. For instance, with this coat thing, his dad gives him a coat, and we're like, ooh, a coat. But his dad would have given everybody a coat. Every son, everyone in the family would have gotten a coat because they were part of the family, and that's how the father provided. But what upset his brothers is that Joseph got a second coat. And that second coat was a symbol, or kind of solidified that feeling that Joseph was the favorite. And Joseph was not the one that was supposed to inherit or be next in line for Jacob. The oldest son would have been the next in line, and the oldest son was the one that was supposed to get a double portion of the inheritance. And the oldest son is the one that was supposed to take over the estate and take care of the family. But here, Jacob is making a clear statement stating that Joseph is the Behor, the one that is going to take over, the one that is going to inherit a double portion, because he gave him that second coat. And so that upset the brothers. Here's the youngest, and he shouldn't be getting this benefit, and he did. The oldest should have gotten it, but here's Joseph getting it. That didn't work out so well. So Joseph was hated kind of out of the gate. And then Joseph has these dreams where it's kind of these symbols of his brothers bowing down to him, and then his dad and his wife bowing down to him. And he goes and he tells his brothers and he tells his father these dreams. And so think about it, that he's already hated, and now he goes to tell them these dreams about them bowing down to him and worshiping him. It just kind of poured fuel on the fire, right? They get even more, and they hate him all the more, and they actually plot to kill him. But Reuben, one of the other brothers, says, no, we shouldn't do this, and so they decide to throw him in a deep pit. So they throw them in this pit. And then they go and they get a goat and they kill the goat, and they take that coat, they tear it off of him, and they dip the coat in this goat's blood, and they go back and tell the father that, is this your son's coat? And he says, yes, and it's a mess. Can you imagine the letdown in Joseph's heart of being treated this way from his own brothers? They're plotting to kill him, but they don't. They actually sell him to a group that's heading towards Egypt, and that group takes him to Egypt, and they sell him to Potiphar. And so Potiphar is an official in Pharaoh's kingdom, and God is with Joseph. The Lord is with Joseph, and he is blessed, and he gains favor in Potiphar's house, and Potiphar puts him in charge over everything in the house. And then Potiphar's wife takes notice of Joseph. She notices that he's dark and that he's handsome, and she wants to sleep with him. And Joseph resists over and over and over until one time he's cornered, and Potiphar's wife grabs a hold of him, and he runs away, but his coat is again ripped from him. And guess what? He gets thrown into prison. And here we translate that word into prison, but it's actually pit. He's thrown into another pit. But while he's in prison, while he's in this pit, again, the Lord is with him. He's put in charge of everything in the prison. And he gains an understanding of these two individuals. One is the cupbearer for Pharaoh, and the other one is the chief baker. And each one of these individuals have a dream. And then Joseph interprets these dreams and tells them what's going to happen. And when he interprets the cupbearer's dream, he says, now when you go to Pharaoh, when your position is restored as cupbearer, remember me, like save me from this place. I don't deserve to be here, so remember me and get me out of here. But the cupbearer forgets, and Joseph is left there for 2 more years. So I want us to pause here and notice for something for just a minute. There's a pattern at play here that I think many of us experience in different forms in our lives. Like we circle around some of the same things and we wonder, God, why are we going around? Why are we doing this again? Why am I finding myself in the pit? Why am I being let down again? And Joseph, he was experiencing this. So Joseph with Jacob, he gets a gift of a coat, right? He gets this second coat, this gift. And then he has dreams, and he shares those dreams with his brothers. And what happened? His coat is stripped of him, and he's thrown into a pit. So he gets a gift, he has dreams, he's stripped of the coat, and he's thrown into a pit. Now fast forward to Joseph with Potiphar. He's given gifts, clothing, living a luxurious life. Nothing is withheld from him in the house. Potiphar's wife dreams of sleeping with Joseph. Joseph's coat is ripped from him, and he's thrown into a pit. Do you see the pattern? Gifts, dreams, coat is stripped, thrown into a pit. Gifts, dreams, coat is stripped, thrown into a pit. But now he finds himself in a pit, and now he's going to experience those same things in reverse order. Pharaoh pulls him from the pit, And then he puts fine clothes on him. Joseph gets cleaned up and he's clothed with these fine linens, this clothing that is expensive. And then he experiences Pharaoh's dream and he interprets it for him. And then he's put in charge of all of Egypt. It's like in reverse, those things happening. He's pulled from the pit. Clothing is put on him, not ripped from him. He interprets the dream, and then he's given gifts, and he's put in charge of all the property and all the land. And I wonder, did God use each of these pit experiences, these huge letdowns in Joseph's life, did he use these to prepare and shape Joseph to lead all of Egypt, to be put in charge of all of Egypt? Because in each one of these letdowns, in each one of these pit experiences, he was gaining tools and patience and perseverance, and his character was being shaped by each one of these experiences. Did God use each one of these pit experiences to prepare him and shape him to lead and be put in charge of all of Egypt? Second in command under Pharaoh. Go read this story through the lens of these letdowns and just kind of track how God molds and shapes Joseph in each one of these pit experiences, in each one of these leadership experiences, to prepare him for leading and being put in charge of all of Egypt. You can find it in Genesis chapters 37 through 47. It's 10 chapters. Read a chapter a day for the next 10 days and you'll work through it. Or sit down for half an hour and just read it because it's good. Well, I mentioned during my 8 hours, I was kind of all over in scripture, and I don't know why. I just felt led to these different places, and so I would open up and I would begin reading, and one of those was Habakkuk. I started reading Habakkuk 1, and I was thinking about this message and what God was teaching me and showing me through the life of Joseph. And in Habakkuk 1, I want to just read this passage of scripture. It's verses 2 through 4. And just kind of think about the condition of our culture right now today. It says, "How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Violence is everywhere. I cry, but you do not come to save. Must I forever see these evil deeds? Why must I watch all this misery? Wherever I look, I see destruction and violence. I am surrounded by people who love to argue and fight. Social media. I'm surrounded by people who love to argue and fight. The law has become paralyzed, and there is no justice in the courts. The wicked far outnumber the righteous, so that justice has become perverted." It's like, I read that and I was just like blown. Here's Habakkuk crying out like, "God, look what I'm surrounded by." And I'm sitting there in this cabin. I'm like, "God, look what we're surrounded by." I feel like this is a prayer for today. Destruction and violence everywhere. Why do I have to watch? Why do we have to watch all this misery? We're surrounded by people who love to argue and fight. Wicked outnumber the righteous. Justice is perverted. God, what are you doing? Like Joseph had to cry that cry. God, what are you doing? Why am I in a pit again? Joseph must have felt this way. Everything in his life was ending in a pit. Huge letdown, huge disappointment, one after another. And we have the advantage to be able to read his story and know the end, see a different perspective, see what God is doing, see how God is preparing him. But in our current situation and in our current story, we don't know the end. We don't know the end of this story. But listen to how God responded to Habakkuk. Listen to how he responded to this prayer. In verse 5, he says, "The Lord replied, 'Look around at the nations, look and be amazed.'" So if I'm Habakkuk, and this is the Lord's response, I'm like, I am looking around. All around me are people who like to fight and argue. All around me, the wicked far outnumber the righteous. All around me, there is no justice in the courts. All around me, there's destruction and violence. All around me are these evil deeds. Yeah, I'm amazed at this mess. But he goes on and says, for I am doing something in your own day, something you wouldn't believe, even if somebody told you about it. Joseph, just be amazed. I know you're in a pit, but just be amazed. I am doing something you wouldn't believe. Even if I told you, even if I put it right in front of your face, even if somebody came and wrote it out for you, you wouldn't believe it. So just trust me. God is doing something in our country. God is doing something in you. Be amazed. You wouldn't believe it, even if he told you, even if he wrote it down, even if he put it right in front of your face, even if he made a movie about it, even if he showed you every point of the end, you wouldn't believe it. So trust him. Trust the story. The what now is this. What do you do when you're faced with a big letdown? What do you do when you're faced with a huge disappointment? I want to encourage you to trust the story. Trust the story. Be amazed and know that God is doing something. God is working. God has not forsaken you. God is shaping you. God is molding you. God is preparing you for whatever is next. God is preparing you to lead. God is preparing you to sacrifice. God is preparing you to lay down your life. God is preparing you for marriage. God is preparing you for kids. God is preparing you for a career. God is preparing you for education. God is preparing you for something. So when you find yourself in a pit, when you find yourself in the face of a huge letdown, trust the story that God is writing for you. Another place that I went to read was Romans. And as I read this passage in Romans, I was like, this is a perfect way to kind of end this story of Joseph and to kind of wrap up this what now and to understand even more deeply what God is trying to communicate to us today. So it's Romans chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. And I'm just going to end here and then we'll pray and then we'll worship for a moment. It says, therefore, since we have been made right in God's sight by faith, we have peace with God because of what Jesus Christ our Lord has done for us. Because of our faith, Christ has brought us into this place of undeserved privilege where we now stand, and we confidently and joyfully look forward to sharing in God's glory. And then here's where we go, where things get interesting. We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, when we're thrown into a pit, when we're let down, when we're disappointed. For we know that they help us develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment. For we know how dearly God loves us because he has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with his love. Why do we get thrown into a pit sometimes? Why do we get disappointed? Because God is developing endurance. Endurance is developing character. Character is strengthening our hope in salvation. This is so good. We have so much to learn when we're let down. There are so many areas of our lives to be developed when we are let down. And so I want to encourage you again, trust the story. Let's pray. God, thank you for this time we've been able to spend in your word. Thank you for the story of Joseph. Thank you for these pit experiences that he had and how you restored, how you shaped, how you were molding him into the person, the leader that you wanted him to be. And God, I pray that as we find ourselves in these pit experiences, where it seems there's only wickedness around us, where it feels like nothing is right, where there's only misery and there's no justice. God, when we find ourselves let down, I pray that we would recognize and we would rejoice that you are shaping us, you are molding us, and this is an opportunity for us to endure and have our character built into the men and women that you would have us be, full of chutzpah, a passion and fire for you. God, we love you, we worship you. In your name we pray. Amen.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, oh, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you.
Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 That is who